welcome to Yellow Farmhouse Makes. My name is Julie and I live in the northeastern part of the United States with my husband and our rescue dog, Jim. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back. If you are a new viewer, you're very welcome here. This is my corner of the internet where I share my crafty life, so knitting, a little bit of sewing, spinning sometimes, and sometimes a little bit of art, sketching or watercolor. And then interspersed with that, a little bit of baking and outdoor adventures. So if that's the kind of thing you enjoy, I hope you enjoy this episode. So let me talk a little bit about this episode. It is a special one because it will be released on the 1-year anniversary of when I started my podcast. So I started a year ago on Valentine's Day 2025, and all being well, this episode will air on Valentine's Day 2026. It's hard to believe it's been a year, but I have thoroughly enjoyed making videos and showing what I've been making. And I hope to continue that this year. As of today, which is February 10th, I think, or 11th, we have 183 subscribers. So that is very exciting. And we're on our way to 200. And once we hit that milestone, I am planning on giving a little giveaway just to thank you all for being here. So please feel free to share my video with any friends or family who are also creative and like-minded. So without further ado, let me get to finished objects. So my first finished object is actually something sewn. I needed a medium-sized project bag, so I went ahead and made one. Now, if you'd seen Instagram reels about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was sorting out my fabric stash and I found some fabric that I'd forgotten about. So I decided to use it to make a project bag. And this is it. It has these adorable birds on it. I gave myself a little handle and it has a zipper. And the inside is lined with some equally lovely fabric. You can see that. And I went ahead and put in a couple of pockets. So I have a larger pocket here to keep my notions pouch in. And then I have a long pocket that I've sewn down the middle to make a divided pocket, and I keep a crochet hook in there for picking up drop stitches and also a pen for making notes. So that is a new project bag with a boxed bottom, just perfect for holding a medium-sized project like a shawl. And I actually have part of my raglan jacket in here currently. In terms of whips, I might as well just show you. I put it down, but I'll pick it back up again. Might as well show you what is in here. So I have been making the basic raglan jacket, which is a pattern by Karen Daimler Lawrence for Knit Picks. And I am making it out of Knit Picks Wool of the Andes tweed, and this colorway is called Lost Lake Heather. It's a worsted weight yarn. And I have, since I was here last, I finished my second sleeve. So I'm keeping the pieces in a bag, so please excuse the crinkling. So I now have 2 completed sleeves, which have a turned cuff, which is a very nice detail. And I have a right and a left pocket, which is a little hard to see. Basically, it's this shape. One right, one left. And the sloped edge is going to have an I-cord finished edge. And then the rest of it will be sewn or grafted onto the body of the jacket. So those are the pieces. And I have the body of the jacket, which is bottom up. It started with the same as the sleeve, a rolled hem. And it looks huge, but I keep reminding myself that it is a jacket, and I was second guessing myself, and I went ahead and measured a couple of jackets that I own, and this is only just a little bit smaller than the total width of those jackets. So I know it'll be fine now. It just looked so odd. I'm so used to knitting in the round or knitting, fronts and backs of things. It just looked huge. It also has the first 5 stitches on each side are going to create a place to turn over to make a nice finished edge along is that called the placket? So that's where I will attach more than likely a zipper, and then I'll use some Nordic ribbon for embellishments. I had thought I was going to do silver clasps, but the more I thought about it, the more I thought that if it's cold out, the wind is just going to whip through the gaps between the clasps. So even though that's a nice look, I don't think it's entirely practical for where I live. Now, the sad thing about this project is even though I got gauge, even though I checked the website for how much yarn I would need for this project in my size, and I even bought an extra skein, I don't have enough. So I have this plus one more skein, and I'm pretty sure that I'm going to need at least 1 or 2 more. So that is incredibly disappointing. And when I came to that realization, I sort of fell out of love with the project a little bit because I was excited to get it finished and wear it. Now, ordinarily, I would just go ahead and order yarn, but wouldn't you know it, when I went to the website, they are sold out of this color. And it says they will have it in a month or 2, which is extremely disappointing, but it is what it is. It's never happened to me before. Usually I have yarn left over once I finish a project, but unfortunately on this occasion, I may run short. So that just means it'll be a different dye lot, and I will have to save some of that second ball that I have to do some helical knitting to make sure that there's not, some crazy color change that's very obvious. So, I'll go as far as I can with the yarn I have, and then I'll just have to be patient and wait for them to get that color in. I did put myself on an email alert once they have it, but I'll be checking the website religiously and hoping that it's not too long before it comes back in. So that was a big disappointment. Oh well, can't be helped. Luckily, I have another project that I can work on. So my second work in progress is living in this bag. This is fabric from the same Etsy seller that I got the brown fabric with the blackbirds on it, and I will link that in the description box. I would highly recommend checking it out. She has some beautiful fabrics. They're all from Japan. They're just a little different than what you would normally find, and I didn't find them to be overly expensive for making small things like bags. So anywho, living in this one, my little sheepy bag, is my Bamboo Wedding Shawl by Pearl Soho. So this is coming along nicely. Last time I saw you, I had told you that I had a lifeline in because I was terrified I was going to mess it up and then have to rip back and figure out where I was and all that stuff. So I took the lifeline out because I'm feeling more confident about the pattern now. And even though I still daydream a little bit, I've got to the point where I can read the knitting. As I had said before, it's not complicated. It's just a series of knit two together, yarn overs, pass slip stitch over. But it's making a very pretty pattern that looks a little bit like mountain peaks to me. So that's very nice. So I'm knitting on this in the mornings, trying to get in anywhere between 4 and 5 rows every day, in the hopes that I can get it finished, or at least mostly finished, by May, when we are going to visit our son and look at a dress for me to wear to the wedding. So if I have this with me, then I will at least know what colors it will go well with. That's the plan. So this is in Knitting for Olive, cotton merino, and the color is called, what is it called? Soft Mint. It's very pretty. So it's, I consider it's almost like a neutral. It's not super bright. I think it will go with a lot of different colors. So that's my second work in progress. My third work in progress, which I promise I won't show you every single time, but I did do quite a lot of this one, is my jelly roll blanket, which is a pattern by Kay Jones of the Bakery Bears. I think last time I showed this, I had completed 4 strips, and I'm now on the 6th strip. It's kind of hard to show it. Now this is all made from sock yarn or fingering weight yarn, and it's just scraps, so it is kind of a bonkers project in terms of colors, but I don't really mind. It's just a fun, mindless knit, which you can pick up and put down pretty easily. So there it is. That's the most crazy section. Everything else was looking okay, but that was like, hello. The fun thing is, it's some of these yarns have some nice memories attached to them, so it is kind of a fun project. So I would highly recommend that. And I think Kay released a version for using up DK scraps too, or you could hold fingering weight together double to get that same weight of yarn. So that's progressing well. I have a yarn ball on the floor, but I'm not going to get it. And that is it for my knitting whips. So let's move on to acquisitions. So since I was here last, I have joined a local knitting group, and I have never been in a in-person knitting group before, and it's so much fun. It's a small group of people at my local yarn shop, and it's just been such a joy to go and see what people are working on and feel inspired. People are helping one another out when they're at difficult parts of their projects. And there's also cake every week. So what's not to love about that? But when I was there last week, somebody had come with a big tote full of yarn. They had been helping a friend clean out their mother's basement, and she apparently was an avid knitter and had quite a collection. I know a lot of it got thrown out because it was just no good, but the yarn that was still good, this knitter brought with her, and said, have at it. If you want it, you can have it. Now, all the yarn did smell very much like a musty old basement, but I figured if I could get the smell out, it would be great, because the yarn is a really nice yarn. It's from Barrett Wool in Maine. None of the labels were with the yarn, but that's what I was told. And I did look at their website, and it does seem to be the yarn that I picked up. So I got 4 skeins of a really nice sort of chestnut brown and 1 skein of a very pretty blue. And let me show you. I've wound 2 of them up. So here's the blue. It's I think it's a bulky weight. I did do the wraps per inch with a ruler, and I had 9 wraps per inch, which puts it at the tail end of an Aran weight and the very beginning of a chunky weight. But I'm just going to go ahead and call it chunky because it is pretty chunky. And here's some of the chestnutty brown all wound up. And when I got it, it was just in these loose hanks. There was a slightly different shade of blue left in the bucket, which I took because it might be good for a colorwork hat or something. And here they all are. These still have to be wound up. I was not able to use my yarn winder. I did put the yarn on a Swift just because it's so tangled up that I had to wind it by hand and then keep passing the ball I was rolling through the tangles. So these still have to be detangled. But the way that I got the funky basement smell out after some research was sort of interesting. I found a great video, and she had been given some yarn by a knitting friend that had a funky basement smell, just like the yarn that I have had. And she conducted 4 different experiments to try and get the smell out. And the one that was successful is the one that I used. So what I did was I washed all my yarn with wool wash, squeezed all the water out, and then all the hanks were nice and wet. Then I took a stainless steel pot that I use for yarn dyeing. I put 1 skein at a time in because it's not big enough for all the yarn. So I put a skein of yarn in, filled that up with water, and then I heated it very, very slowly to 168 degrees, which is the temperature range where if there are any mold spores, they are killed by the hot water. And even though I wasn't sure that it was the mold that was smelling, I didn't want to take any chances. It may just have been basement mustiness, but I figured it wouldn't hurt. And putting the wool in hot water like that and bringing it up to temperature slowly is okay, because that's how you dye yarn, as long as you don't plunge yarn into boiling hot water like that, which would shock it and probably ruin the fiber. So I heated it up slowly. Once it reached temperature, I turned the heat off and then let it just cool down all the way. Dumped that water and yarn out, squeezed the water gently out of the skein of yarn. Then I put it back in the pot with some Dawn dish detergent and about 1/4 cup of vinegar. Filled up the pot enough just to cover the yarn, kind of agitated it very, very gently, and then I left it for 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, I rinsed that out, squeezed the yarn again, put the yarn back in the pot, filled it back up with water and another 1/4 cup of vinegar, and let it sit for about 20 or 30 minutes. Dumped that water out, squeezed out the yarn, rolled it in a towel, stepped on it, got it nice and dry, and then hung it up. And I did that with each of the skeins of yarn. And when they were dry, the funky basement smell was gone. So it worked a treat. And the thing to remember about vinegar is it smells very strong when you're using it. It's just like when you use it to clean. There's like this very fish and chip shop smell, I guess you describe it. But once it's dried and been out in the air, the vinegar smell just goes away. So now the wool just smells like wool. There's no odor of vinegar whatsoever. So I'm very pleased that that experiment worked. And so when I go back to knit night this week, if anyone has had any trouble getting the smell out of their yarn, I'll be able to share what worked for me. So I'm glad that I was able to save it. And I was looking at some knitting patterns. There's a very simple slip over or vest that I thought I could use one of the patterns from the Doodle Knit book to put in some color work along the bottom. So I might do that. It is a little prickly. I wouldn't want to wear it completely next to skin, but I think as a vest over the top of a shirt, it will be just fine. The other thing that I could do, that I'm tempted to do if maybe there's any left, is to make some felted bowls, because I think this is the perfect kind of yarn to do that. So watch this space. We'll see what I end up doing with it, but I am pretty happy. I think these two colors together are nice. So main body of the vest in the brown, and then the blue for some color work. So I'm happy to have managed to save that yarn. So that's good. So that was one exciting incoming. And then the next incoming, what did I do with it? Oh, here it is right here. This is living in my Japanese rice bag. I'll share the tutorial where I made this. It was a Stuart Hillard tutorial here on YouTube. So it has these fun little tabs that you can fold down and you end up with a little bucket. So let me show you what I ordered. I've been wanting to try English paper piecing for a really long time. And I thought if I could find just a little kit that had some 1-inch hexies, I could sew the little hexagon, tack them into place, sew it together, make a larger piece of fabric, and then make a zipper pouch to use as a notions pouch or a pencil case. I figured I'd start small before I tackle anything huge like a quilt or a lap blanket. So I found a seller on Etsy called the Fowl Goose. Fowl as in bird, F-O-W-L, not as in gross, disgusting, fowl. And she had just these little kits. So I bought two. I bought a Christmas kit that was on sale that has, I haven't opened it yet, but it's Tilda fabric. I know nothing about sewing and fabric except the only two fabric makers I know of are Tilda and Liberty, and that's it. So this is one of the Christmas packs that she had on sale. So it's lots of reds and greens and some icy blues, and that's her logo. And then the other one I bought was called, excuse me, and I'll tell you what it's called. It's called the Ruby Star Society, and it's Jan Hewitt. The Ruby Star Society Jan Hewitt fabric. So I got a little pack of this, and it came with enough of the paper pieces to put inside. So I have just been taking 10 minutes here and there just to sit and sew little 1-inch hexagons together. It's very exciting. So here's my little tin of hexies. They're so cute. And then I'll just show you a few of the fabrics. This pretty green, little red floral, polka dot, stripes, teeny tiny little ditzy, and some gingham. So once I get them all sewn together, then I can play around with the design. I felt inspired to try this by watching The Last Homely House, where I can't remember her name now. That's terrible. But she has so many beautiful projects, and I finally bit the bullet. This could be a terrible rabbit hole to fall down because it's fun. I mean, it's small and it's portable. If you just wanted to take just these, your two little project pieces with you, you can take that in the car or on an well, probably not on an airplane because they'd take away your needle, but pack it in a suitcase. So that's good. I'm excited about that. So the other thing that I've been doing since the beginning of January is keeping a sketch journal. I don't really have any rules for it other than try to sketch every day. I think I've only missed 2 days, and then the following day I just did 2 sketches. And I divided my sketch notebook up into a grid. So I have 6 boxes on each page because that to me felt a little less intimidating. So I don't really have any rules as to what I'm going to sketch. It's just whatever I feel like that day. And the only other thing that I record in it is the daily temperature because I like to look back and see what the weather was doing. I was inspired by Andrea over at Journals for Breakfast. If you enjoy journaling or planning, working in planners, anything like that, I highly recommend watching her YouTube channel. She does a lot of work with collage and watercolor, and she's a very creative and very interesting person to watch. So go ahead and give her a look if you have a chance. Please excuse that noise if you can hear it. My husband is building his woodworking workshop in the basement, so I think he's hanging cabinets. So I thought I'd show you what I have in my book so far. As I said, I'm not really thinking too much about it. I'm just sketching what I like, something every day. Some things are inspiration from YouTube, and some things are just out of my head. The end goal is to be able to sketch when we're taking vacation. It's nice to take a photograph, but sometimes it's nice just to be able to sketch something as a memory rather than, something that gets lost on your phone. So that's the plan, is just to get better. And you don't get better unless you practice. So practice makes perfect. So I hit the end of January, and then I left myself some free squares just to go back and fill in with whatever I want as I like. And then moved into February. So this is how I've set my page up, just one small square for each day. And it's working out great for me. I'm enjoying it. I'm just using watercolor. So I have my favorite Winsor & Newton travel watercolor set. It has a little fold out brush in it. So I use that. And I use micron pens. These are all different sizes. So very fine. And probably all upside down. And slightly thicker. Use those, and then I have a couple of nice pencils. So I have Blackwing pencils for sketching, which I really like. They have a nice smooth feel. So I'm using those as my tools in my sketchbook. So I'm enjoying that a lot, and I'm hoping to see some improvement by the end of the year if I keep practicing. Plans for future projects will be the vest. I will do some swatch knitting first just to make sure that the yarn looks and behaves the way I hope it does. And if it doesn't, then I will be making some felted bowls, and I think maybe look at some patterns for some pillow covers. So that will be in the works. And other than that, there's not much else going on. I have, as well as joining the knitting group, I have joined my community chorus. I haven't sung in a chorus since high school, so this has been a lot of fun. I can't read music, but these folks are wonderful. They said it doesn't matter if you can't read music. Come along and just learn by ear, and everybody is welcome. So that has been a lot of fun. I've met some very lovely people through that experience. So we've been rehearsing once a week since the beginning of January, and we have a concert coming up at the end of April. So I'm looking forward to that. So I will leave you here for now, and I will show you a little bit of some of the weather we've been having. We did have a big snowstorm about 2 weeks ago, and I took some footage to share with you. I know some of you enjoy seeing that. And after that, I'll be back just to wrap it up and to say goodbye. So I'll see you in a flash. Hey, good boy. Are you snow swimming? Are you snow swimming? Good boy. Thank you so much for watching this episode. If you enjoyed what you saw here today, please give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so that I can continue to grow this community. And share me with any friends or family who are crafty minded the way that you are and I am. And in the meantime, I will see you on the next episode. So please enjoy your Valentine's Day. Enjoy your crafting. Stay safe, keep warm, and I'll see you very soon. Bye bye.